Friends, let's see today the poetry by Nirendranath Chakraborty, that is Amalkanti. Amalkanti is a poem originally written in Bengali by Nirendranath Chakraborty in the year 1994. This poetry was later on translated into English by Meenakshi Mukherjee and Sujit Mukherjee. Nirendranath Chakraborty is one of the renowned Bengali writer and he has won many awards such as Sahitya Academy Award for his writings. His writing in the Bengali poetry are famous because of its originality. Let's move and understand something about the poetry that is Amalkanti. Amalkanti term means pure radiance. That is, the main protagonist is being given the name as Amalkanti and hence it suits its character. When we go into deeper sections of the poetry, we understand the exact meaning of what the writer wanted to show through this poetry. Let's understand it by observing few lines. The poet says, Amalkanti is a friend of mine. We were together at school. We often came late to class and never knew his lessons. When asked to conjugate a verb, he looked out of window in such a puzzlement that we all felt sorry for him. Here, the poet explains through the narrator the situation which the boy Amalkanti had suffered when he was too young and was a child. The process of explaining the poetry is done through the narration or a narrator who was a childhood friend of Amalkanti. The speaker says that they were childhood friends and were in the same school, but Amalkanti was a weak student and was not bright at all in studies. Also, he explains that he often was late to school and never completed his lessons on time. Also, when teacher asked him to conjugate a verb, he would be always speechless and was always gazing out of the window. The poet further says that the whole class felt sorrow for him because of this attitude. The poet further says that some of us wanted to be teacher, some doctor, some lawyer. Amalkanti didn't want it to be any of these. He wanted to be sunlight, the timid sunlight of late afternoon. When it stops raining and the crows call again, the sunlight that clinges like a smile to the leaves of jam and jamrul. Here, the poet, through the narrator, explains that everyone of the student in the class had an ambition. Some wanted to be doctors, some teachers, and some lawyers. But Amalkanti had a very different kind of idea for his future. He did not want it to be any of those. Rather, his goal was to become a sunlight, the light which could give some kind of responsibility and new beginning in the summer, a sunlight of dusk. He wanted the sunlight that brings a smile on the faces of the leaves after the rain is over. He explains here the leaves of jam and jamrul. That means Amalkanti wanted to be an inspirational source for each and every one. The poet further says that some of us have become teachers, some doctors, some lawyers. Amalkanti couldn't become sunlight. He works in a poorly lit room for a printer. He drops in now and then to see me, chats about this and that, over a cup of tea, and gets up to go. I see him off at the door. The narrator further says that, like decided by his school friends and him, they all have grown up now and have some become doctors, some teachers, and the other lawyers. But Amalkanti wanted to be a sunlight, which he could not achieve. Rather, the narrator says that he is doing opposite of what he has decided. He is working in a dark room of a printing press. According to him, even a small light is not available for there to his activity. This can be explained because Amalkanti visits his friend or the narrator and both drink tea and chat where Amalkanti discusses about his situation to his friend. The poet further says, the one among us who's a teacher could easily have become a doctor if the one who'd want to be a doctor had become a lawyer. It wouldn't have made much difference to him. All of us got more or less what we wanted, all except Amalkanti, who used to think so much about sunlight that he wanted to become sunlight. Now the narrator says that few of our friends who wanted to be a teacher was not sure that they became teacher. Rather, they might be a doctor. The doctors might have become lawyers and vice versa. But the truth is that they have achieved something or the else. But Amalkanti could not achieve the sunlight he wanted to be, and hence the pity for Amalkanti is felt by each and every time. The term Amalkanti, as we have discussed, is meaning of pure radiance, and the name is given to the main protagonist also. The poem is completely filled with irony, without which it is impossible to understand. Amalkanti, like we have seen, becomes a worker in the printing press and works in the dark room. That is the opposite of complete idea what he had in his school days of becoming a sunlight. That is the inspirational force. However, one can also see that he is actually being an inspirational force because Amalkanti is working in a press publishing the books, which inspires a lot of people every time. Thank you.